Hello and welcome to a quick look back at my first full year on YouTube. I guess what I really want to do in this video is talk about how we got here, what we've achieved, and then go over some things I've learned in my first year that could perhaps help other people who are just starting their channels. And of course, if this is the first video you've seen from me, then please feel free to check out my content, and if you like what you see, consider subscribing to the channel. So, I posted my first video on December 2nd, 2020, and now here we are exactly 1 year later with over 1,450 subscribers, over 95,000 total views, full monetization, and over 110 videos uploaded. The first video I made was actually a review of Godfall on PS5, and being completely honest, that video is not good and really doesn't reflect my content at this point in time. I mean, the thumbnail was kind of basic, I was really not very confident in my speaking or writing for that matter, and the video had, very minimal editing to it. It doesn't even have transitions or background music or anything like that, so, it kind of is what it is. But on top of that, I actually gave scores at the end of my videos back then, and scores are something that I grew out of very quickly. I only really did them, I think, because other people did and I was just starting out, and I will talk more about that later on, but yeah, it wasn't great, I think I'll actually link that original video in the video description if you want to see it, so you guys can go and laugh at it with me, but yeah, in regards to scores, I just don't really think they help anybody anymore. Any score that you read from any outlet is still just an opinion of the person creating the review, Two people could look at exactly the same game and one could give it a 9 while the other could give it a 6, so it's just kind of unhelpful in my opinion. So what I try to do is give potential buyers of these games as much factual information on a game as possible, and then make it very clear that the next section is based on my personal feelings and opinions. That way you understand what the game has to offer, on a factual level, and then you get my opinion on top of that. I try not to mix the two like a lot of other places do. And some of you may not even know, but the channel wasn't always called Consoles Only. It was originally called the PS5 Collector, and I had a website for articles and all that kind of stuff. My plan at the time was to buy the PS5 console and basically all of its accessories and physical copies of the games. I thought I could be a kind of ground floor collector for the system, getting right at the start and attempt to collect everything that was officially released for the PS5. Very quickly though, I realized a couple of things. Collecting physical games for the PS5 is virtually useless in a lot of cases. I mean, to give you an example, Assassin's Creed Valhalla only has about, I think, 1 or 2 gigabyte of data on the actual disc, so that kind of ruins the collecting side of it for me. And then I also found out that most of the accessories were sold out on day one, like the 3D Pulse headset and the charging dock and things like that, so I couldn't really make any content based on reviewing those things. After that, I noticed that the website and its articles were taking up far too much of my time, and people who want gaming info tend to check things like social media or YouTube, not really random websites anymore. So that stuff, combined with the fact that I was just doing PS5 stuff, would have severely limited my options, and it led to me completely rebranding the channel. I changed the name, the logos, the style, and I got rid of the website. And so, I've been Consoles Only ever since, and I've slowly evolved and tweaked my content until I was comfortable with what I was producing. And can I just say as well, I think I've had probably one of the best starts to YouTube that I could have reasonably asked for. I've barely encountered any trolling or negativity or really anything like that. I've had a few people disagree with me and, come in with a bit of a hot opinion, so to speak, but you guys know that I welcome that stuff. I don't really mind at all if people disagree with me, it's not a problem. In fact, I've even had long conversations with a few people who really didn't like my views on a game, and they eventually became subscribers because I, respected their opinion and talked to them like a human being, It's not a difficult thing to do, but these people actually turned around and became subscribers, so all in all, it's been a good experience. I feel like there's this weird opinion tribalism thing going on these days where if you don't agree, it's just, literally the end of the world or something. I don't really understand it, but I guess I'm just trying to bring back discussions and sort of create a place where people of all views and all walks of life actually can just talk about games they like without the fear of being shouted at or ridiculed, I mean, I have friends who like sports games that I really hate, things like FIFA for example, but do I ridicule them over it? No. Why would I? It just doesn't make any sense to do that. If they like it, they like it, and it's not mine or anyone else's place to put them down for it. It's okay to not like it, and sure, you can share that opinion out there, you can say, I really don't like FIFA, I really don't like whatever game you're talking about, but sending hate people's way or just insulting them is just nonsense, quite frankly. But yeah, I know I'm not at 1 million subscribers, but I'm genuinely really proud of where the channel is after 1 year. I mean, I've seen loads of people saying they struggled to get to 100 subscribers in a year, so I guess I must be doing something right. Either that or I'm failing upwards, which is probably more likely. But you know, as I said earlier, I've got over 1,450 subs, 95,000 total views, and I've uploaded over 110 videos. So I've been really consistent in my uploads, you know, and I've worked really hard to learn more and improve my content over time. Not only that, but I've been given quite a few review codes by big companies, and that just didn't happen from nothing. You know, I put in the hours. I put in a lot of hours of email communication to these companies, chatting to PR reps and things like that in order to secure the review codes. In fact, I still do. I recently just got a review code from Koei Tecmo for the Ultimate Edition of Blue Reflection's Second Light, which I think it's like £95 or $115 to buy it, and that still blows my mind to this day. And then even more recently, Nintendo contacted me to offer me a code for Pokemon Brilliant Diamond. And in regards to that, I did actually contact Nintendo about, I think 6 or 7 months ago, something like that. I contacted their PR team to ask to be considered, you know, for first-party Nintendo releases, but I didn't hear anything for games like Metroid Dread or any of the other first-party stuff, so I wasn't really holding my breath for any codes, but they really surprised me and reached out to offer it to me. Sure, it's after the release date at this point, but they don't really offer too many early codes anyway, so I think it's still pretty cool. And don't worry, being given codes won't cloud my thoughts or my judgment on any of these games, no matter what it is or who it's from. If a company decided one day that they just didn't like my opinions and essentially cut me off from review codes, I suppose I would just tell you guys what they did and then, you know, simply buy the game and review it myself, you know, so it's not going to stop me reviewing the games. To be absolutely fair though, everyone I've worked with so far has been absolutely brilliant and they haven't told me I can't say anything or show anything at all, so that's a good sign. But I guess there's not really too much else to say in regards to the channel's progression except to say that I really appreciate the support because, well, frankly, without you guys watching my videos, I wouldn't have a channel or the opportunities that I've had, so the least I can do, I think, is put out free content for you to enjoy. And I don't normally mention this stuff by name unless it's in a special video like this one, but I do in fact have a Patreon page and I have a one-off PayPal donation link as well if you'd prefer to do things that way. All the stuff you'd need is in the first link in the video description if you ever want to go above and beyond to support me and the channel. Everything I receive from this stuff, whether it be on Patreon, PayPal, or actually through the Google ads in my videos, it all goes towards the channel. That could be anything from buying a game for review or perhaps upgrading my computer or editing software, which helps me to make my content quicker. And just know that it's 100% optional and you should not feel obligated to do it. None of my content will ever be locked behind donations or anything like that, and it will always be free. In fact, due to being in YouTube's partner program now, you guys just watching the videos supports me financially, so really that's all you have to do. And the last thing I'll say about this is that YouTube has just activated my ability to have the join button on my channel, and if you don't know what that is, it's basically like having a version of Patreon built into YouTube itself. It's like a membership to my channel where you pay a small amount of money to the channel every month. I haven't turned it on yet or figured out the details, but if you do join, you get things like exclusive emotes and badges for your account, so that's kind of cool. Then in the future, when I start streaming, you can use those emotes in the chat and the badges will show up next to your screen name. So again, it's a pretty cool thing. But as I said, it is optional. You don't need to do any of this stuff to watch my videos or to get at my content, or when I start live streaming, you won't need to be, you know, part of any memberships or anything to actually watch my live stream. So don't worry about any of that. Now then, if you're someone who's interested in starting a YouTube channel, I do have some things to say that may help you. A lot of it might sound like common sense, but I can assure you that some people overlook this stuff. Probably because at the time it will feel a bit counterproductive to how you're feeling, but you'll see what I mean as we go through it. And of course, if you're not interested in this stuff, you don't need to watch, but you may find it interesting anyway. So what have I learned in my first year on YouTube, and what tips would I have to give someone who's just starting out? Well, the first thing I would say is that you need to do your research. Figure out roughly what you want to do. It doesn't matter if that's, you know, game reviews, music, painting, whatever it is. Just think of something that you're passionate about and that you want to share with other people. That's the first step. You don't need to 100% lock everything down because trust me, during your first year you'll be changing things, adjusting, and maybe even completely rebranding like I did, so don't worry about having it 100% in the bag. Once you know roughly what you want to do, think about what you'll need to do it. Get that stuff and do some practice videos. And I understand that buying the equipment might be difficult for some people or perhaps even out of the reach of some people, but if you really want to do it, you do need to invest in yourself. So if you want some free suggestions for software, I can tell you what I still use at the time of posting this video. So I use Blender for video editing, Pixlr for thumbnails, and Audacity for audio recording and audio editing. I'll leave a link to each of these below, and there's, hundreds of tutorials out there for these. So again, this leads me back to my first point. Do your research. Learn how to use these things, to at least a basic level, and then as you go on, you'll become more and more proficient with it. I mean, as I said, go look at my first review and then look at my most recent review and you'll see the difference. And I think the next tip I would give is to not agonize over the views, the performance of the videos, or your subscriber count. This is where it might start to feel a little counterproductive, because most people will look at their numbers and think something's wrong if one video does better than another. That is not the case though. When I started, it took me, I think 4 months to go from 0 subs to 25, and then in the next 8 months after that, I gained about, 1,400. So growth in the beginning is slow. There are exceptions, of course, but generally it takes time and it takes commitment. You simply need to just keep going and be consistent. It doesn't matter if it's 1 video a week or 3 short ones in a week. I've generally stuck to around 2 videos per week all year, and so far that's working out pretty well for me. Just focus on making videos on things that you like, and in time, things will naturally fall into place. Views and video performance will fluctuate, and if one video does far better than another, it doesn't mean that one was bad and one was good. It's just kinda how it goes on YouTube, and worrying about these numbers too much will honestly drive you crazy. So just try to avoid it, at least for the first year. I mean, that's pretty much what I've done. I do look at the numbers in the sense of, oh, this one did okay, oh, great, and then I move on. I don't agonize over the numbers because, as I say, it will really bother you and you'll be just chasing this imaginary perfect video which doesn't exist. And I know it can be hard to put 2 days of work into a video to get around 10 or 20 views. I know all about it. I went through it for like 4 months, but trust me, you just have to keep going no matter what views you get. Of course, be proud of what you've made, but don't worry about the view numbers and just move on to the next one. Even now, my views fluctuate quite a lot. I mean, as an example, I have a review on Samurai Warriors 5, which has got over 20,000 views, but some of my recent reviews I've uploaded have only got around 300 or 500 views. It just kinda happens that way, I mean, sure, it sucks to see it, and it can feel pretty upsetting when you've put so much work in, but it's just the nature of the beast, I'm afraid. Consider this, if you look at some YouTubers with millions of subs, they may upload a video that gets, let's say, 500,000 views, right? Well, their next video might only get 300,000 views. Both of those numbers are massive, but they are very far apart, and it mirrors me getting 20k for one and then 500 for another, if you see what I mean. It's just the way it goes, and you just have to make a mental note of it and then move on. And that's really the best thing you can do in that situation. Another thing that would really help is spending some time contacting various companies and PR departments. And of course, this makes more sense if you're planning on creating videos that revolve around reviews or unboxings. Now, of course, if you only have 10 subs and you've only uploaded 1 video, you're not likely to get anything for free to review. But what you can do is make them aware of your existence and your channel's existence. Maybe create something like an email template that you can edit every time you send it out to different companies, and just let them know what you're all about. I mentioned that Nintendo recently reached out to offer me a code for Pokemon Brilliant Diamond. Well, I had sent them an email maybe 6 or 7 months ago explaining what my channel was about, and that led to them reaching out to me, so it can and does work. You just need to put in the effort, and while you can't really brute force your way into these places, you can help things along and increase your chances. If you're interested in a specific company, Google is your friend. Use the Google search to find different PR companies and search for contact forms for the various companies that you want to interact with. I obviously can't personally give you any contact info because of confidentiality, but trust me, they are out there and they are relatively easy to find if you spend some time looking. And I think lastly, it's really important to pace yourself. If I really wanted to, I could absolutely no-life the channel and spend 7 days a week doing nothing but making videos and agonizing over numbers. Now fair enough, some people do thrive in that kind of situation and do really well. I, however, do not. I need to be enjoying what I'm doing and have some sort of meaning behind it, and that means pacing myself and making sure I don't burn out. You see it all the time. Sure, some YouTubers are very wealthy, but they are constantly stuck in drama, controversy, and they just burn out after a while. Sometimes it can lead to, well, you know, them not being around anymore as well, which is awful. I don't upload a video every day or anything like that. I do 2 a week because that's what feels okay for me. I really don't want to end up hating a lifelong passion, which in this case is video gaming, and that's exactly what happens to so many people. And I guess with that said, long story short, do your research, take the time to learn the things you need to know, try not to worry about the views and the analytics, at least in the beginning, spend time contacting PR departments and let them know who you are, and don't burn yourself out. Pace yourself and try to enjoy what you're doing. That is the most important thing. And of course, I really hope these tips help you to get in the right state of mind and just have fun creating your own content. I think 2022 is going to be a big year, and I would love to be able to get to something like, I don't know, 5k subs or even 10k if possible. Things can snowball like that, so who knows? Seems like it would be impossible right now, but I wasn't sure I'd ever make it to 1,000, so what do I know? I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, improving my content as time goes on, and hopefully even more opportunities will show themselves over time. I appreciate every single person who gave my videos and my channel a chance. You guys have so much choice out there of who to watch on YouTube and what you want to see, and the fact that so many of you have, chose to watch my stuff is just a very good feeling. It really is. So I'll get the join button sorted out soon, but if anyone wants to help support me and the channel, you can currently either join my Patreon or send a one-off donation to my PayPal account. I also post my reviews on Twitter when they go live so that you can see when I've actually released them, and also I post some random stuff on Instagram, so you can follow me in those places if you'd like to. The links for all of this stuff is always at the top of every video description. But with that said, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.